Unity. Open up Unity Hub. I'm going to talk about Unity a little bit. One of the things I suggest you guys do is go ahead and get a Unity Asset Store account. It's just the storefront that makes things great. So the hub, let's talk about that first. A real quick rundown. This is where all your Unity projects will get started, and this is how you can manage what kind of engine is running, or which editor is running your game. The installs is where the editors are. This is where the actual game engine is. This is where we actually build stuff. And each engine build is tied to a specific project, and you can have multiple engines because you may have builds that are very specific to your game. As an example, this project right here is for my thesis, and it's a very specific editor version because we've got some other tools plugged into that specific set, and if we change it, it could break everything real easy. So usually it's a good idea that once you start a project, go ahead and try to keep the engine the same. For our intents and purposes, we're building basic 3D models in the scene, and so it's pretty easy to maintain and update. So we should be okay if we want to update our engines while we're working. I don't suggest it, but I mean, it's all about experience. So what we want to do is go ahead and get started with a new project. And what we'll start with, like if you have nothing in here, then you'll just have new project, and you'll make sure that you have at least one editor in here, and this should give you an opportunity to install an editor from the internet. So get that set up, and if you got a school machine, you should be good to go. In the Learn tab, this has been real helpful in learning how Unity works for me and how to teach it. So go check out these examples. They're there, they're free, so go learn. Now, back to projects. I'm going to go ahead and start with a new project, and I'm going to call this one, name it something specific that you can remember. The next thing we'll look at is the actual type of scene that we want to have, and these are all based upon how Unity renders and what kind of tools are active and what tools are not active. These are just presets that help us get started quickly. We're going to use the 3D sample scene with the URP, so if we click on that, you should see a construction set. We're not looking for this. This is a high-end rendering stuff. It's really nice, but so make sure you have the construction scene, and it says 3D sample URP. It's the universal render pipeline template. It just gives us a real easy starting point, and it's really good. So let's give it a better name. Dinette set. So Dinette set's what we'll actually call it. Everything else is fine, so let's just go ahead and hit create project. Now, while this gets set up, what it's doing is downloading, or is creating the source files and putting it into the right folders on your drive. Alright, so Unity's running, and here is our scene. Dinette set is the name of the project. We're in the sample scene itself. Alright, so I'm using right mouse button, and I can use WASD to move around and zoom in pretty quickly. Right now I can also use the Alt and right mouse button, middle mouse button, and left mouse button. Explore the scene a little bit, click on some items and take a look at what's going on. When you collect on something, you'll see it active in here, which is the actual hierarchy of what's in the scene. You'll see that the inspector will offer you information about what it is. Okay, so previously I was talking about getting a membership to the asset store. It's actually really important because otherwise it's going to be difficult to get some of the cooler things. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring in my that Mr. Fly dude, and what we want to do is go to Window, and we want to go to Package Manager. The Package Manager will give us a listing of things that we have either in our scene, in our project, or even in our asset store. Now if I go to My Assets, this is exactly what's in the Unity store that I was just showing you. If I go here, there's the actual asset. I want to import it. If you've already downloaded it, it'll say re-download, and you can basically get updates. Here I just need to import it in. And so what happens here is that it's going to say, hey, there are some settings inside of the project that you're bringing in that are different from the settings that you have in your project currently. and we need to be very selective about what we're bringing in. So for me in this particular project, I don't want everything, because what's really important is that it will change the actual rendering setup inside of my scene, which will create a whole bunch of other issues. Really all I need is a couple of little key aspects of this project. So I'm going to see if I can noodle this right. Let's see if this works. It didn't change the graphics things. Alright, so we have imported our character. You can tell because there's the actual folder. Third person fly. Alright, we've got some errors because it's a different rendering system. There's a little bit of a pink undertone. What that is, if I go to materials inside a 3D person, this material right here is the legacy shader. It does not work with the universal rendering pipeline. We would actually have to change that to lit. The pink will probably be there while the actual system rebuilds the lighting controls, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so I'm going to hit get out of my controller real quick. Let me see if this guy works. Let's go ahead and add the prefab. So there he is. He's wearing the wrong suit inside the view, but since we changed the material, he's actually okay right now. It's just white. If we put him in here, boop, boop, let's see what happens. We got to turn. There's a camera inside of here, and we got to turn that guy off. I'm gonna just delete him, and let's see what happens. Alright, so he works. There's a couple of things we need to set up, but that's okay. Hit F so he flies, otherwise I think he'll just fall forever. Okay, so what we need to do now is just go ahead and hit stop. And I think we're good to go. Our scene is decent enough, so let's hit save. We're all set. And that's how we can get him in here.